there's a magic that we have. There's a sauce that we have because of the trust, the vulnerability, all of the things that go into it. We understand each other's triggers. We understand why we are, we move the way we move, or, hey, you're really great at this and I'm not great at this. And how can we come together? But it's not a competition. We're never going to be out here competing for one another. It's like, we're here to root for one another. So you have to have all of that to really get and to have a friendship to then build into the business. And I think that that's what people feel like. We're very much a duo. We do everything together. Sometimes I think to the behest of our team, but they're just like, can y'all just separate and divide and conquer? Divide and conquer in different ways, but we really do value what each other brings to the business. And that's because we value the friendship.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hey, and welcome back to the Black to Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall, and today we've got a topic all about turning traditional wisdom on its head. You've heard it said before, don't mix business with pleasure. But what if I told you that our guests today have not only debunked that myth, but have also turned it into a secret recipe for their entrepreneurial success? Today we're delving into the extraordinary journey of Shannon Jones and Yadira Harrison, the brilliant minds behind the innovative consultancy and agency, Verb. They've crafted a story that's nothing short of inspirational, showing us how building a bond with your business partner before you even lay the foundation can be the game changer we've all been searching for, especially if you are in business or considering going into business with friends. So get ready to unearth the real benefits of friendship first mentality in business and learn strategies that will not only surprise you, but will also resonate. Shannon and Yadira have navigated the path from colleagues to friends to co-founders, serving clients like Amazon, Nielsen, Lyft, Sundance TV, and many more. Their insights and personal anecdotes will inspire you whether you're considering going into business with friends or seeking ways to strengthen your existing partnership. So let's challenge the status quo and discover the tremendous power of friendship first in entrepreneurship. Let's dive into the episode. Yadira and Shannon, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. Such a treat to have you on the show, so welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, excited to be here.
Great. So before we dive into today's conversation, I would love for you all to introduce yourselves and tell my listeners a little bit about who you are, what is it that you do in your business, and how you got started.
So I'm Yadira Harrison. I'm one of the co-founders of Verb. We are a brand experience agency who specialize in events, proprietary platforms, and content campaigns. And so for us, we started about, almost 6 years ago now. I'm originally from outside of Dallas, Arlington, Texas, went to school in Syracuse. And then after that, started my career, my journey at Macy's, doing the Macy's parade and flower show and fireworks and all kind of other fun stuff that one day I'm going to write a book about. And then left there and then went to an agency called Civic Entertainment where I met Shannon. We were both working on the Airbnb business and building up a lot of their experiential marketing platforms, I guess you could say, things that we started to build and grow from 2013, 2014 on. Then I left, moved to Los Angeles to go pursue biz dev and some other clients and things of that sort. And things, we'll get into it, but things went a little haywire, a little interesting in 2017, which then resulted in me saying, you know what, I need to do something different. And at the same time, that's where, Shannon was as well. So I'll let her give her a little bit of background.
Yes, so I'm Shannon Jones, also co-founder of Verb. I'm based in New York, and I have always been on the agency side of the business. Even when I was in college, I was working pretty much full-time at a sports marketing agency, wanting to get a leg up before I graduated college. And I also worked for University of Maryland football while I was in school. And then I started working at an agency called Velocity Sports and Entertainment that has gone through a handful of acquisitions, but still around today, and worked on a lot of traditional sports and entertainment sponsorships. Singular Wireless was one of my first clients, which I feel like always dates me a little bit. But it was an incredible account to work on because they sponsored so many different sports and entertainment platforms. I worked on so many different music tours. We also came up with a proprietary concert series called Singular Sounds Live. And so, we did a bunch of really cool tours back in the day. And then from there, I went to an agency called Group M in their entertainment and sports partnership division. And that was my first time really learning about the media side of the business. And I think, it was interesting to see that the cost of a TV spot was my whole project budget on some accounts. And so I really loved learning that side of the business. And then I worked for a startup agency for a while. And then Yadira and I met in 2014 at Civic, where I was initially brought on as a consultant for an Airbnb project, and then ended up joining the team full time. And then she and I left in 2018 to start our agency.
Such a wonderful journey and so much experience and background. I am so excited for today's conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. So we're talking all about what I love that you all are friends. And I know a lot of people who are listening maybe are wanting to go into business with their friends, or they are in business with friends. But what I love about you all is friendship first, having that friendship first mentality. So we're going to dive into that today. So first, I want to talk about understanding the importance of friendship first and why building a bond with your business partner is essential. So you shared your background. If you all could talk about how it was going into business together, like how did that conversation start and how did it kind of shape your business journey?
I think it's interesting that we actually didn't start as friends first. I think before we started a business together, we were definitely friends.
Yeah.
But, first we just started off as colleagues, and Yadira always talks about being away on a business trip and then just coming back wondering, who is this Black girl sitting on my row? And that was me sitting there. And it took us a couple of weeks to warm up to each other. And I think there was some conversation about Beyonce. It was like, oh, okay, that's my kind of people. And from there, we started to connect. And at the time, as she said, we were working on the Airbnb business. And what was so interesting about that was we had to live together. We traveled a lot for work, but we were staying in Airbnb listings together. And that really accelerated the intimacy of our relationship. And, the connection, is a very different relationship with your coworker when you got to share a bathroom. And so, I think that really changed things for us. And then, we built such a foundation of trust and respect over the years working together, with me initially reporting to Yadira and then she and I being partners on the different projects we worked on, that really created a foundation for us going into starting a business together. And, I can even remember the first few times that we hung out outside of work. Like that was a really big deal.
Yeah. I didn't even want to be I don't even think you became my Facebook friend until a couple of years ago.
I don't know Facebook friend still.
I don't think you are.
I don't think I am.
That's hilarious.
Oh, wow.
You're somebody's Facebook friend, then they recommend you to everybody else. I'm like, I don't need to be your Facebook friend because you like to be everybody's Facebook friend. I don't need everybody to be my Facebook friend. So I actually don't even know if we're Facebook friends.
No, that's the only platform.
Technically.
It's all good. I mean, some people hardly get on Facebook these days. So, maybe we'll try to do that.
Yeah. But I do, what's interesting in terms of starting the business, we had to have really, really vulnerable, transparent conversations. And Yadira talked about this, where she had never been a freelancer. She had never been a consultant. She was used to getting her check on the 1st and the 15th for 15 years at that point. And so we had to have real bars of like, okay, there is not a check coming on the 1st and the 15th.
What you mean? There's no check.
Like, are you ready for that? Because that's a very different mindset. It's a very different mentality, and it's a different kind of pressure, quite frankly. And so I was actually a little nervous about having that conversation with her. I think it's almost like sometimes when people are dating and you don't want to ask them the real conversation or question because what if they say an answer that you don't want to hear? And so I talked to my husband about it. He's like, you have to talk to her about it. And so I remember I was sitting in his studio at our apartment and I called her like, okay, now we're not going to be getting no check. And we were basically bootstrapping the company from our savings. So we had to have really transparent financial conversations. How much do you have saved? How much do you have saved? What's your credit card limit? You know what I mean? Of like, how are we going to build this business together? And so having that conversation, or many conversations, but that one in particular, I feel like also really helped set us off on the right track.
I love that. And I love that you spoke about that vulnerability, because sometimes people are like, I don't want to let you get too much in my personal business. And you all were able to have that moment in that space to do that. So that's wonderful. And that leads me to my next question, because in the business world, there's also this often focus on professionalism and keeping personal relationships separate. So for you all, as you grew as friends, why do you believe that now building a friendship with your business partner matters?
Oh, because it gets you through the day to day. You know, there's a magic that we have. There's a sauce that we have because of the trust, the vulnerability, all of the things that go into it. We understand each other's triggers. We understand why we are, we move the way we move, or hey, you're really great at this and I'm not great at this. And how can we come together? But it's not a competition. We're never going to be out here competing for one another. It's like, we're here to root for one another. So you have to have all of that to really get and to have a friendship to then build into the business. And I think that's what people feel like. We're very much a duo. We do everything together. Sometimes I think to the behest of our team, that they're just like, can y'all just separate and divide and conquer in different ways? But we really do value what each other brings to the business. And that's because we value the friendship, and we just know that like, hey, I may really love creative and want to come up with all the concepts and things of that sort, but I know my strength is not seeing it through. That's just not that's not my ministry. But for her, it's like, she's really great at creative concepting, but she can see it through and move that forward. And then it's like, okay, when it's time to get to budgeting, all right, well, that's when I can pop back in. And so we really start to understand how those things start to work together. But that really takes us understanding one another. And it's interesting, because I would actually say our friendship has become even deeper and stronger by going through this process.
Definitely.
Because like I said, that day to day wanting to find, the why in some of these when you're having a hard day, and it's like, okay, here's somebody else who understands the why. Here's somebody else who understands how we're going to do it. We kind of run on the same fuel and kind of energy. So there's a lot that I would say goes into us continuing and maintaining this friendship, and then how it kind of seeps through to the rest of our business. Even I guess you can say our motto for our agency is making cool shit with your friends since 2018, or with our friends. And so for us, that's the vibe. The vibe is, whether that is us, it's the team, it's our partners, it's our clients. Those are the folks who, we really want our vibe of like, you feel that energy from us, that we really, love and like one another. You feel that too. And that's the energy that, we want to envelope everybody in.
And I could just say, okay, so this is a voice audio only podcast, but I can definitely feel the energy on the other side. So yes, that is a vibe there. And, just how you all work together and just how you're answering questions. I know people are listening. They're like, yes, I can tell they're on the same wave. So, yeah.
I love that.
I definitely could tell. And so what do you say? Because there's this saying, like for you all, you have had success in working together as friends. However, in the business world, there's this saying like you can't do business with your friends or family. And so, right. And so for you all, you're like, obviously that's not true. And I want you all to speak about that, why it's not true. And then what has your experience been like, or what are some of those benefits? You spoke about some of them, but those benefits of having your friend as your business partner, and why you can do business with friends.
I've had business conversations about starting a business, starting an agency with other friends. And they started off great for that first meeting. And it was like, yeah, what's the name and what we should do and but then it's like after that, it kind of putters away. And I just remember, and I probably had that conversation 2 or 3 times with different friends or friend groups over the years. I just remember something was inherently different with having the conversation with Shannon, because for us, it really was about where we were in 2017. We had achieved so much together that we were like, you know what, we can take this on the road. We already had clients who are asking us and saying like, if y'all go out there, are y'all going to do something together? And we're like, we're happy where we are. We're feeling really good. And so to have that conversation with her and say, yes, let's go forward on this. That was because I'd already had other conversations with friends before where it was like, our friendship will burn to the ground because we don't work the same. We don't value the same things. We're not getting into this for the same reasons. You know, are you going to be here when the times are rough? Are you only going to be there when the times are up? And we had already experienced that. And I think that's the unique part of this for me anyway.
Yeah, I would say that Yadira is one of the few people that I've ever met that I felt like had the same drive and ambition, like relentless ambition. And you know, I think early in our careers when we first met, we had already been in the industry probably at least 10 years each at the time. And there was this energy around like climbing the corporate ladder, if you will. And I don't think either one of us necessarily had intentions to become a founder in that period, but someone else that felt very driven, someone else that felt like the pursuit of excellence was a priority. And so I think that being on the same wavelength in that respect definitely helped us. And also balancing that with being able to have fun. Like, you know, I will tell you, she's a karaoke queen and, you know, being able to work hard, play hard. And I think that's definitely how I've gone about my career, that it's just not all work all the time, even though it can be that way, but someone that you feel like, can complement that also is your friend. I think that's what matters, being on the same wave, someone that you know will be in the trenches with you. Like I can count on Yadira anytime. I know that she can count on me. And so that I think that's what really gets us through. And then, you know, when you're up at 10, 11 p.m. working on a presentation and you're both tired and stressed out and you can just like crack a joke and like power through, like that's what really helps us win in the end. And so I think that's where the friendship piece comes through. And for folks that sometimes have had challenges with friendship, it's real. I'm not going to say that just because it's been successful for us, that's not a reality for some people, whether, like you said, transparency around finances, transparency around commitment to the business. Like, are you doing this just for a little while, but you're also still interviewing? Like, there's so many of those factors that really matter. And you have to be on the same page about that. And it might be a temporary thing. You and your friend might decide you just want to do something for a couple of years. Like Yadira and I have had to have really long conversations about not only why we're doing this, but what's our end game. You know, when we first met, to talk about, I went out to LA and I remember being in her apartment. We talked about like our financial goals of like, okay, one day, like, you know, put it on a piece of paper and then flip it over. Like, what's your dream number of like how much you want our company to make? And my number was 5 million. Like, oh, one day we're going to make $5 million. Her number was $30 million. And I was like, oh no. You know, and it stressed me out because I was like, wait, stressed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be working my fingers to the bone trying to make this like, I just could not, I couldn't work. There wasn't enough hours in a day. I felt like I could possibly work to do that, but that wasn't the mindset of like, we weren't just thinking about how we trade our time for money. It's about building a company. It's about building a team. It's about building infrastructure. It's about,
building properties,
investments, licensing, all these other, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I see the bigger vision because that was stressing me out. But even that type of conversation you have to be able to have when you're building something together.
That is beautiful. I love that. And can you share a time or a moment where your friendship made a significant difference in your business success?
Significant difference.
That's a good question.
Or maybe a time where it was like, I'm glad I got my girl.
Yeah, I think those trying times for sure. also when we have a really demanding schedule, when we have to travel a lot, the friendship part comes in, even just knowing our own boundaries. We already know, and it's not even a bad thing. We just know, like, 5 days, that's our max. Like, okay, like, we get a break. But being able to be friends and be honest about that, like, that's when we get a little snippy, or that's when we get a little, like,
it's quiet.
It's a little quieter, but we just know that, and we can respect each other's space, and we know we don't have to spend every waking moment together, even if we are friends. Like, we have different things that we like to do. And so I think that that's where it's probably come in the most, is understanding boundaries. And when we do have a really demanding schedule, especially traveling a lot, how we can find that balance.
Love it. And so let's talk about the bond, cultivating that bond for people who are listening. And what are some practical advice or tips for aspiring entrepreneurs on how they could develop? Okay, we're friends first. Business might get crazy, but we're friends first with their potential or current business partners.
I would say two things. One, keep learning about each other. We have a thing where when we learn something new, because at this point, we're like, we've known each other 10 years at this point.
Almost, yeah.
And when we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that about you. And then, like, we like revel in it and like go deeper about that. And I would say just always like keep learning about the person, whether you've been friends with somebody your whole life or a few weeks from now. People are so rich and so deep. And when you think that you know your friend is changing and evolving. And so I would say that's the one thing of, like, who we showed up as in January 2018 are not the same people that we are now. So I would say that's number one. Number two, have fun. Like, we make it a point to have fun. We, last year, my favorite is Bruno Mars, hers is Anderson .Paak. And we were like, we're going to go see Silk Sonic as much as we possibly can and take other people with us, like our families, our friends, all the things. It's just like, be a part of these experiences with us. And so for us, it's like, how do we continue to create new experiences, create new memories, that honestly also inspire us in our work. But for the most part, it really inspires and keeps our friendship going and keeps it new and keeps it fresh, where it's not like we're doing the same things and we're, focused on the same things all the time. That just kind of brings those lighter moods. And so we're always making it a point to, like, do something fun, interesting, spending even special occasions together, especially if we can. New Year's Eve, we did that. We brought it in as one unit. We just make it a point to just, stay connected in that way outside of just purely professional.
Yeah, I would say a big piece of advice, like one key takeaway for sure, is therapy. Therapy works. It's amazing. Yadira was in therapy first. Our business coach, I think maybe our first year in business, was coaching us and was like, oh, this sounds like therapy. And it was like, maybe we should go. And so Yadira went to therapy first. I was like, oh, I see a difference. I see a change. I see growth. I'm like, okay, yes, I'm a believer. And I had my own preconceived notions about therapy. And so now I've been going, I don't know, probably a year or so now, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. And what I think is so incredible about that is because it helps you unpack your own shit. And we do a debrief after we go to therapy. I'm like, all right, what'd she say today? What'd she say today? Like, we talk after each of our therapy sessions sometimes too, of just things that are going on in work, things that are going on in life, and even getting to the root of why some things bother us or our perspective on certain things. And so I think that by far has been really pivotal to our success. And for anybody who wants to go into business with a friend or have a partner, really digging into your own shit, I think, is really critical to success at any level. And both of you going on that journey is even more beneficial because there are so many things that you can learn about yourself and you can learn about each other.
Right. Yeah. And Shannon, speaking of, therapy, and also you mentioned earlier, sometimes everything is not all peachy and rosy and there will be disagreements or conflicts. I want to talk about how do you all handle those moments when it comes to disagreements or conflicts? And, yeah.
You hear us laughing.
Yes, I hear it. But y'all in therapy, so you know.
It's interesting because it doesn't happen often at all. we are really good at like, our thing is like, no dog. Like, we say our piece. And if it's like, we say our piece, and two, we also know our things that we're like, no, she's a stickler for this, I'm a stickler for that. And so it's like, say my piece, no dog, and that's it. One, I would say that was a growing moment for us of like how to handle disagreement or things of that sort, where it's my Aries nature. I'm just like, like I said what I said. And that is, for Shannon to be a Leo, it's a lot going on in there. And it's just like a very calm disposition. And so I went to a site visit in Miami. This was probably like in the first 3 months of the company.
This is early.
And I went to a site visit, and I admittedly now know that's not my ministry. That don't send me for that. I'm looking at the space from a totally different point of view, and I'm more likely to be twirling and dancing in the space than I am to be looking at taking measurements.
Right.
But I was like, okay, I volunteer tribute. I will go. I'm in Miami. I was having a good time by myself in Miami. Went to the site, looked around, kind of did like a head nod, like, oh yeah, I see it. And then left. And then it was time for me to go back home to LA. I'm in Delta Sky Club, and I get a text message. And Shannon's just like, how did that go? Where are the photos, the measurements, the this and like, Shannon is like the queen of questions. And it was just like ping, 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 question after question. And I just got so enraged. And I was just like, don't worry about what I'm doing. Like, I did what I was supposed to do. And I had it.
Yeah.
And then I sat there and I was like, what are you bothered by? And I was like, you know what you're bothered by? She's asking you, did you do your job? And you did not do your job. She's asking you to be accountable, and you're not being accountable. And I wrote her back and I said, you know what? I am sorry. You're asking me to be accountable. I was not. Let's just, now going forward, I don't need to do any more site visits. It's not my ministry. You need to go. I apologize for my tone. That's not how we should do things. And so that was probably our first, and I would say really only time of like any sort of conflict, which when I look back, I'm like, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, we do have one time. That time we were working on a deck in the hotel.
Oh my gosh.
So that time this other time we were working on a presentation late one night. We were in a hotel and it was a pitch. And somehow we learned about who else was pitching. And I went to their website and I'm like, who is this? And kind of just like low-key started spiraling a little bit. Like I just started, it's like when you get distracted, like a horse looking to the left, stay focused. And it was so late. And what we realized, like, we are sleepy, we are hungry. It's like, this is not the time. It's like, we just had to tap out. But we had to learn that though, in that moment when we started getting testy with each other. And it's like, it's because I saw this and I shouldn't have. And now I'm starting to get nervous and I'm bringing that anxiousness to us trying to work on this presentation. So that's the only other time that I can think of where we really had to have real bars about our dynamic, how we work together, how we need to be mindful of each other's energy, sleepy, hangry, whatever, and being able to just take a break. And so now we just have little things like in the morning, like if you're not having a great day or, stressed out a lot of times, especially when my son was younger, if I was up all night with a baby, I would just text her in the morning, like, I ain't got it. Like, I ain't got it today. Or she'll text me like, I ain't got it. And that's just the code for like, okay, I need you to step up a little bit more. I need you to carry the day. You got to shake hands, kiss babies with the meetings, whatever it is. And so I would say that just some of that shorthand with each other really helps us get through. And I would say the other biggest thing about conflict is it's almost like this notion of like, we don't fight in front of the kids. And like, not that our team is the kids by any stretch, like they're our colleagues, they're our partners, but we know how important it is for us to get aligned amongst each other versus having to have a debate in front of our team. If there's something that they raise that we haven't discussed prior, most oftentimes we'll say, we will come back to you, because what can be very natural, especially to fire signs, is that we start to bump heads and dig our heels in even further. And then if there's an audience, then you really feel like you got to make your point and win. Then there's ego involved. And so we just know, like, you know what? we will take this offline and come back, because then we can have a more candid discussion about how we feel. And then one of us can just say, like, I feel really strongly about this. So the other one could say, you know what, it's really not that serious to me. We can go with your way, or let's try it, and see. And so I do think that that's also been really important for us. We don't have a bunch of like arguments and knockdown dragouts at all, but even just simple things that it's important for us to be aligned on and be a united front for our team, versus confusing them. It's like, well, Shannon said this, well, Yadira said that. They don't have to go through that. We're really clear about our joint point of view when we go back to them with feedback.
That is so good. I love that. It also makes me think of, you all have a lot of self-awareness and then also empathy. And for people who are listening, I want to dive into like, what role do you feel like empathy plays in this fostering this relationship and this business partnership? And also how those who are listening, who may not have that self-awareness just yet, or they're not as empathetic as they would like to be, how they can begin to cultivate this trait.
That's a good question.
How to cultivate empathy?
I think always, I can only speak for myself, and I feel like, Shannon, you do this as well, but really putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, of really understanding, one, business is business, but we also understand life is always lifing. And so when somebody is showing up, when someone is showing up and they might not be their best selves, it's not because I don't think people don't want to be their best selves. Something probably has happened, or they're feeling some kind of way, or whatever it is. And it's just like, okay, let me put myself in their shoes. One, let me find out what's going on if I can. Two, being emotionally intelligent enough to understand what's happening just with things in the world that are happening, and how things are playing out. Everything from, folks going back from remote and going into the office, and how that's playing with folks. We had a client partner who was devastated by that. And, right before we're, about to talk business, this is the thing that, was on her mind. And now this is what she's looking at the lens of this meeting through, of just like, she can't get past this one moment. It's the same thing when it's, Shannon and I are talking, and it's like, we know what's going on in each other's lives. So it's like, I know she may not show up, happy-go-lucky if something's going down in her life, or she's going to show up extra happy if something amazing has happened in her life. And I think, to me, that's really where it is about, like, learning people, having that understanding of life is lifing, and really getting to the root of who they are and what they're going through, and being truly concerned and kind in that. And I think that's how we lead on a day-to-day, because I think people see us do it to each other, and then also how we interact with our team. And so we require that of our team to really do that. Like, we always say, like, it would be great if everybody on the team were friends. But if you're not friends, if nothing else, be kind to one another, get to know one another, be appreciative of one another, because then that's how it can lead to empathy. You can understand what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, I think the book, The 4 Agreements, is really incredible for building empathy, but also just how you engage and interact with other people in life and business, and how that can just set a great foundation for how you engage with other people. And it starts to just build almost like this invisible foundation of empathy, when you're not taking things personally, when you're not making assumptions. There's also a saying that people are not against you, they're for themselves. And I think that ties in with taking things personally, like, they wanted me to mess up, or people are not even always thinking about you. They're just thinking about what is best for themselves in that moment. And so I think the 4 Agreements is a really great resource for how to build that empathy muscle. And like Yadira said, we say life is lifing all the time. You have no idea what folks are going through. And I think what's interesting for us with our team is sometimes people will share things personally with what's going on with them, but then sometimes it might be their manager in a leadership meeting that might mention it. Somebody's dog died, somebody's cat died, somebody's friend passed away. They didn't get an apartment they had applied for that they were really hoping to get. They got engaged. Like, there's so many, good and bad. There's so many things going on in life that can impact how someone is showing up. And so we're just really mindful of that. We're not robots. And I think that definitely post-COVID, I think there's an expectation to be more empathetic about what's going on. Where previously it was like between the hours of 9 and 5, you almost had to act as if your outside life did not exist.
Yeah. Nobody cares.
So true. Yeah, that's so true. True leaders, true leadership. I love it. And you all have achieved a lot of success. So like Yadira mentioned, being on site in Miami, and you all have some very high profile clients, which we're going to also get into that, to name a few, Amazon and Lyft. So how do you all balance? You have this high profile business while maintaining your personal connections.
Oh, that's tough. I think maintaining our personal lives outside of all of this is one of the things I think for myself that I know I have to work through in therapy of just like I'm still a work in progress of not making Verb my entire life. Because it's all consuming. That's the thing about that was, if nothing else, what I heard about becoming an entrepreneur was like, it is all consuming. It is what you eat, sleep, breathe, all the things. And that's just starting the business. Now you talk about a successful business at that. And it's like, okay, now you have to maintain the success and all that comes with it. And so I have had to really dig deep and learn over the last 2 to 3 years of like really reshaping of like, okay, what is this for? So when we're doing all of this while we're building Verb, what is it for? And it's really to get this sense of freedom to really spend it with the people in my life that I love the most. And to be able to allow myself to have time to do that. And so, I have this thing called ghost mode where everybody on the team knows of like my ideal is years from now that I'm like, you just see somebody walking around the Verb office and you're like, was that Yadira? And it was me. I'm there. I know what's going on. You hear, but I'm not in the weeds and doing the day to day. And why is it? Because I would rather, on some level be with my loved ones, be able to spend time with my mom who's, not well, be able to spend time with my sister, my brother-in-law, my uncle, with all these other folks. And that's what everybody's searching for, right? We're all searching for some sense of work-life balance, but it can be really difficult because work doesn't stop, For some folks on the team, it might stop from, whatever time that they're doing things. And especially in our business and experiential marketing, it can feel like 24/7 because there are very interesting hours that you can work trying to build something and run it. But for myself, I'm really trying to find that balance and really prioritize the people in my life to spend that time with when I do have the time available.
Yeah. And so let's get into, so we've talked about all of the things of you all building this wonderful friendship and also this successful business and how you all have been able to do so. And I love this because in that success and friendship, as you've grown, you've been able to build a successful business. And like I said, work with some major clients like Amazon, Nielsen, Lyft, Sundance TV, and many more. So can you share some of those key moments or projects that stand out as major successes for you all at Verb?
One project that we did a few years ago that really stands out for me was a project with Airbnb on the Fresh Prince house. And I think that stands out to me for a lot of reasons. One, it was when we first started working on this campaign with Airbnb called Only on Airbnb. And we've now produced so many of those different types of experiences over the years. But that was one of the first ones that we did with them as Verb after not working with them for a couple of years, almost like a gentleman's non-compete with our previous agency. We didn't work with Airbnb for several years after we started the company, but we had worked with them for 4.5 years prior. And the Fresh Prince project actually came up while I was on maternity leave. And I remember Yadira calling me and she was very adamant of like, be offline, like delete Slack from your phone, do not check your email. But I remember her calling me. She said, okay, we have this opportunity. Like, should we do this? And I was like, oh my God, like, okay. And we talked through it. And then she was like, okay, say less. And then hung up. And then the team ended up working on it. And I was so proud of that moment, a little jealous that I didn't get to fly to LA and go. But it was so incredible. And even to see like how excited Will was about the project and the cast was on site and shooting content. for the reunion of the show. Like, it was really incredible. Celebrities that wanted to come stay there. I think Travis Scott wanted to come record at the house. Like,
wow.
It was just so dope to see that come to life. And you know, again, like, what people might not know about the Fresh Prince house is, like, that iconic house, it was an exterior, you know what I mean? So our creative team really had to come up with, okay, what are we doing to reimagine this space, of what would it look like if Will lived here today? Or, you know, what would the pool house look like in you know, I think it was 2020 at the time. So it was a really, really dope project. So that one I'm so proud of, because I think it was just such a pivotal moment for us in terms of what we're capable of. There was also a campaign that we did for FX. It was around the series finale of Pose, and they also had a docuseries coming out called Pride at the time. And it was a campaign we did around Pride Month, and it was an influencer-focused campaign. And I had this idea from seeing Oprah give people their flowers. And I remember, like, Alicia Keys posting it, and somebody else, of just like these beautiful, stunning bouquets. And it was really like, you know, imagine you get something from Oprah, like this acknowledgement of, like, Oprah giving flowers. And so I was like, what if we do that for these influencers and thought leaders and people that may not necessarily have their name in lights in the LGBTQ community, but they deserve to be recognized. And so we had hundreds of nominations for people to get their flowers. And so we sent out these beautiful bouquets all over the country, and seeing the influencers and creators and, you know, activists post this content was so incredible. It was one of the most socially shared campaigns that FX had, which is great from a business standpoint and the metrics, but people crying about feeling seen. Like, that was what was so moving. I mean, every time I think about that campaign, it's so powerful to see the impact that our work can have. And, you know, sometimes, honestly, like, marketing can feel trivial, but that type of impact, I think, is really incredible and really inspiring. And for us, I felt like that really solidified our creative point of view and how we approach all of our work. We always knew it, but coming out of that campaign, we knew that it was important for all of our work to make people feel seen, valued, and connected. And so that's the through line for everything that we do. Every little detail that you see in an experience or an activation is about making people feel seen and valued and connected to each other, to the community, to a brand. You know, whether it's like, there's one festival we produced, and even the products in the bathroom, people were raving about, like, oh my God, like, I've never had edge control in the bathroom. Like,
that's dope.
But they seen, you know, it's not just dry. You know, it's like, how can we make everyone feel seen? And so those are moments that I'm really, really proud of. And I think that that's carried through in all of our work.
Yeah, that is beautiful to be seen. And, you know, the flowers, so many people don't, I mean, it's just like, so many people don't get flowers, and to see you all put that amount of detail and care into, I love it. And I know you all come from a background of working with some high profile businesses. Now, I didn't ask this earlier, but I do want to take a step back and say, in the beginning, were you always working with high profile companies, or was it a journey? Like, how was that?
No, we've always worked with high profile companies because I was on the brand side working with Macy's, always working with, you know, the partners who were in the parade or fireworks and things of that sort. So always big brands or big fashion brands or, you know, entertainment brands, and the same celebrities and the same for Shannon, because Shannon was on the agency side, but doing that for media deals, tour sponsorships, you know, that type of stuff, NCAA, fashion week, things of that sort. So we've always been in this kind of proprietary, big, large scale event world where our roles were interesting. I just thought about that. Like, we focus a lot more on, yes, we did productions, but our roles mainly were fostering these relationships and fostering these partnerships, and then, you know, building them out of what they can start to look like. So, so we've always been with big brands.
I love that. And I love it also because it's like of course, you all are the experts in this. And then also I asked that question because a lot of people who might be listening, you know, it's kind of known that some or many entrepreneurs face these challenges when it comes to acquiring and retaining high profile clients. So for somebody who's listening, what strategies would you say that they can employ to secure such clients and then start to maintain those relationships if they didn't have them in the beginning?
I think it starts with the relationship piece first. Yadira and I both did internships when we were in school that really helped set that foundation for our career path and trajectory. And most of them were unpaid, which I think is definitely a privilege to even be able to take on an unpaid internship. But that definitely sets the foundation. But also, I used to do so many informational interviews with people when I was in school of just like understanding what career paths were out there and what I wanted to pursue and understanding how different companies worked. And so I think that taking those initial steps can really help set you on that pathway. But it really starts with the relationships. And we're super mindful that those relationships don't feel transactional, like really genuinely getting to know people, taking interest in what they're doing. And Issa Rae has talked about this a lot, but it's not just about the people above you, but networking across. Some of our first clients were people that we might have come up with in our careers 10, 15 years prior, and then they were in a leadership position or they were controlling multi-million-dollar budgets and they had the authority and, freedom to hire whichever agency partner they wanted to. And they looked to Verb and trusted us with their projects. And so I think that has really contributed to our success by building and maintaining those relationships. And I think that there was definitely a period in my career where I really fell off from that. I had a boss at the time that was like, nope, I got it. I'll talk to them. I'll take the lead on this. And so kind of deferred to him in that sense and lost contact with a lot of people that I had worked with early in my career. But that by far is the biggest thing of just building that foundation of relationships that you can then leverage later on when it's necessary. And then also let people see you doing the work. I think the reason that we get so many referrals is not because we're just knocking down doors, asking for opportunities. People see us doing the work. And then from that, we're top of mind and like, oh, they just did that really great thing. Let me send them to this other person. So that's also important as well. Like doing the work and being really great at what you do will also naturally help build those relationships and connections of not just what you're about to do. You have to do the work. You have to build the experience in order to get to move into spaces with some bigger brands and clients.
Love that. It reminds me of someone who once said, like, people didn't start talking about me till I started talking about me. So, love that. Yeah, seeing people do the work. Yes. And so now Verb has offices in both LA and New York. So can you talk about the journey of expansion, like those decisions to have multiple locations and just knowing each other, how that played a role into that expansion?
So we got rid of our offices independent. We had just signed our LA office and everything went down in 2020. And so we debated, okay, are we going to go back? What are we going to do? The majority of our teams are in New York and LA. So it's definitely something that we've been talking about and thinking about because we do like to foster, those relationships on the team, but then also having a place where people can also collaborate and to team up to dream big. We're in a world and in a marketing space where you need to do that. We need to be able to visually see the things and talk through that and have people, I know I ideate really well when I'm walking around a space. And so you can't do that on Zoom. And so anytime that we realize as a team that we can get a little stuck, we realize it's like, oh my gosh, we're trying to do all this ideation on a Zoom for, days on end. And you keep getting stuck because you're in between all these other things. And so we have been thinking about, how to really make, more so I would say collaboration hubs or, more so than an office where it's like, you got to go back in Monday through Friday. It's like, we don't even want that vibe. But we do want and need something that we are going to come together on. We can do some of this like project planning, this expansive thinking, write things up, put it on I love a whiteboard, to put it on a whiteboard and be able to like problem solve together all in one room. So something we're definitely thinking about. We did do a team survey. That was the most, that survey told us a lot of nothingness. It was just like, we want everything, but nothing. We want to come in, but not really. Don't tell
I was going to say, what do they want to come in hybrid?
Yeah, like hybrid, but like, don't tell us what day.
Don't make it mandatory.
And it's just like, well, nobody wants to be in an office and you still have to Zoom the whole time where you're in the office. So that doesn't.
Yeah.
So, we're working through that in our planning and how we can do a lot more of that, fostering those collaborations outside of our offsites and team meetings that we already do.
Yeah, we were already working remote when we first started the company because Yadira was based in LA. Even at our previous agency, Yadira was already in LA for a year before we started. Mm-hmm. So we were already very used to this like bi-coastal nature. And then we had a lot of clients in San Francisco just by nature of like the tech scene and startup scene. And so, and a lot of referrals from Airbnb expats, honestly, as they went to new companies, they would hire us. So we already had that dynamic where we were used to working with each other and with clients in different cities. So that actually wasn't as big of a transition for us in 2020. I think what expanded was how many more folks we hired over the last couple of years. Our team has doubled in size almost every year for the last couple of years. And so how many more folks are remote, getting registered in new states and like just thinking about those logistics. So it's been pretty natural to our growth. I think we definitely notice how great the camaraderie is when we're on site together as a team, like being able to bond or even just being able to lean over and ask someone a quick question that doesn't feel worth scheduling a meeting.
Yeah.
But you feel that freedom and flexibility based on proximity to one another. So it's something that we're definitely mindful of and we know impacts the dynamic of the work that we do. But right now our team is 100% remote.
Got it. Love it. All right. So let's get into now the work that you all are doing because you all have shared some invaluable insights into like building a business founded on friendship and then also authentic connections. So for our listeners who might be interested in working with Verb, how can they get in touch with you and explore your services and kind of talk about what you do with other people?
That's a great question. So our agency traditionally has been by referral only. Maybe we can consider your audience a referral from the podcast.
We're special. Yes, I love it.
So it's been by referral only, really, because I think that it helps with the vetting process on both sides. When two Black women are starting an agency, it's pretty rare. And I think that by the time we started the agency, we probably already had at least 15 years of experience each under our belt. And so we were very against the prove it nature of when you're starting a company and you're trying to get new business and new clients. And so that's why we started out with just referrals. And it's remained that way because it has been very successful for us. We work a lot in the tech, entertainment, lifestyle space, a handful of retail brands, but we really specialize in brand experiences that make people feel seen, valued, and connected, whether that's producing a festival, a product launch, a summit, brands looking to rethink traditional B2B experiences. They want to get out of a hotel ballroom and get out of like the traditional conference vibe and rethinking how they connect with their consumers. We talk a lot about working with brands that want to reimagine how people experience and interact with their brand. And that's really the foundation of the work that we do. If you go to our website, admittedly, it just says by referral only, but on our LinkedIn is a great way to connect with us. So on our company LinkedIn page, I think it's /pick a verb. The company is just called Verb, but all of our domains are pick a verb. And so on our LinkedIn, we've tried to be a lot better, especially this year. We were not really good at this, but we've tried to be a lot better about sharing more of the work that we're doing, that things that are not confidential. We try to make sure we post on LinkedIn to share the work that we're doing, what we're up to, but also, connecting with people. And I think the biggest thing for us, we're always open to meeting dope people, whether it's to work at our company, collaborate with us, if they have an interesting skill set that could be great as a vendor or partner on a project. I think the biggest thing with connecting is people just sharing more about what they're up to, what they're interested in, why they want to connect. I think that, we get hundreds of LinkedIn requests that are just like really generic, like, let's connect. It's like, oh, okay.
Why?
Right, why?
But,
you only got so many.
Yeah, but we're also super open, and so I think that that's when people share a little bit more in their messages and things, we're definitely open to connecting and responding to folks.
Yeah, I definitely get that, and definitely understand, because as you all mentioned, you've always kind of like dealt with high profile clients. So it's like you've been doing the work. You don't really need to go out there and get clients. They're basically coming to you.
Yes.
So, love it. And speaking of that, so can you talk about any upcoming projects or initiatives that you are working on at Verb?
Nothing that we can talk about publicly. However,
what do they like?
I will say this. So we
ROI.
ROI, we can definitely talk about that. So this summer, we just wrapped up the Barbie Dream House that we did for Airbnb in Malibu. And so we've been kind of coming down off of that high over the last couple of months, and then now fielding out all of the inbound that's coming our way based off of that, which is great. So there's a lot of things that are in the works. There's a lot of amazing things that are in the works that we really wish that we could talk about. Keep watching. But one thing that we can talk about is ROI Summit. So Rachel Rogers, who wrote the book, We Should All Be Millionaires, she has this really amazing community. And we've been part of her mastermind. And it was interesting, like in the same week that we were signing up for her mastermind, she was looking for us because she had been a speaker at an event that we did years ago. And when we finally connected, she was like, look, I really want to bring my community together. I really want to bring Hello 7 together. Let's do that. And that was really it. I mean, I feel like that was basically the brief. And how do we do that? We want to bring 1,000 folks together. We explored a lot of different places and spaces and landed on Puerto Rico. And so last January, January 2023, it feels like last year.
This year.
Well, yeah. So this year. So the top of the year, we brought together almost 1,000 schmillies together to come together for, keynotes and breakouts and brain dates and all this kind of fun stuff to really just get the community, really thinking and thriving, especially as it's the start of the new year. And so it's ROI because it's the idea of what's the return on investment, especially the investment of yourself, right? And in your business, where you're going to take that. And so now we're in the middle of year 2. And so that will be happening in January. So last year was really fun, a lot going on.
So amazing. This
year is going to be even better. So we've been working on that, and that will that's already been launched, so people can definitely look that up and buy tickets through Hello 7. But that will be something that people can see our work, and you'll be seeing a lot on social feeds and things of that sort in January.
Love it, and I would definitely put that information in the show notes. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yes. And so in all of what you all do, any advice you can give to someone in their first year of business?
I always go, I'm going to go first because I always go super practical, and then Shannon is just like, let them dream. I always say, thinking about the operations, I think a lot of people, especially when they're talking to me and to Shannon, but especially when they're talking to me, they're like, oh, my logo and my name of my company. And I'm like, that's all cute. Do you understand taxes? Do you understand how this is going to impact your taxes? What the legalities are, the insurance of your bit? Like, do you understand all of the operational things? Because those are the things that, especially as folks who want to get those bigger, higher profile clients, those are the things they're going to be looking at. They're going to want to know, do you have $500,000, $1 million, $3 million, $5 million worth of insurance? Do you have the right MSAs? Do you have the right legal, or do you have the right bank accounts?
Right.
Do you pay your taxes? Things of that sort that those are the things that a lot of folks don't want to tell you, or don't tell you how important those things are so early in your business. So I always go super practical of like starting there, because that's not the fun stuff. But if you can do the not so fun stuff, and what is it, swallow the frog or eat the frog, and do the not so fun stuff up front, then you can get to the fun stuff a little bit faster. And then when you're in the middle of all your fun stuff, you don't have to stop to go now do this other stuff.
Totally agree.
My biggest piece of advice is going back to building and maintaining your network. It's so critical to your success. And that could be anything from a really incredible florist, a fabricator, a designer. Like, there's so many people that impact our business that it's important to build and maintain relationships with, from the client side, from the partner side. And you just never know who is going to be talking about you in different rooms. And I was listening to a masterclass last night that Pollyanna Reed hosted on media, and she had this really great quote she talked about this morning, actually, that is, generosity is the best business strategy. And I really, really took that to heart and believe that. And the advice around building and maintaining your network, but really doing that with a generous spirit, not being super transactional, but how can you give to others, because that will come back to you tenfold.
Yes, that's good stuff. And do you have any favorite tools or resources that have helped you in your entrepreneur journey?
I am obsessed with Ryan Holiday books. The Ego is the Enemy and Obstacle is the Way were so clutch for me, you know, at certain points in my career of just trying to navigate difficult situations, difficult people, and come out on the other end. So I would say that the Ryan Holiday books have been really incredible. You know, we use practical things like Asana, Slack, and all that good stuff in our company. And I think that even just a simple resource of, like, our team always jokes about YouTube University, and now, like, even TikTok tutorials, like there's just so much out there. And, like, resourcefulness is one of our core values at our company. And it's just like, Google is your friend. Like, you can Google anything. And it's just like, no matter what you need, it's probably out there if you Google it. That is my favorite tool of life. Google.
I would say all of those, I'm not a tool person. I'm just kind of like, whatever comes to me, whatever they tell me to use, I will pretend I'm going to use it. But I would say my favorite resource is the Black Girl Doctor, which is my therapist. And so that's the name of their company. But our therapists, I think, are the biggest resources and the biggest tools that we have to really get us going and to break through when we're stuck, or we break through when we're having a good time or a bad time. And so, you know, as we, you know, you've heard throughout this session of, like, we make it a point to talk about therapy and how important it is, especially in the business journey, especially on the entrepreneur journey. And I can only imagine if you're a solopreneur and you don't have somebody to bounce things off of. So for me, I would say that's my favorite tool.
Yes, totally agree. All right. So now for a quick round of not so serious business. So, Yadira, what interesting or something fun about Shannon that people don't know? What's something?
I can't wait to hear this.
I can't wait to hear this either. So if people don't know, that they don't see. Shannon presents very, like, serious and all the things, but Shannon can crack a mean joke at a really great timing. And I always think that when people are talking to Shannon, because she's, like, so poised and so all the things, that I'm like, I don't know how funny she is. Like, sometimes we can just be sitting here and she'll say something, or she loves to do an accent. Her accents are always better than mine, so I can't say they're bad. But she'll do an accent or do something. It's just like, yo, you are super, super funny. And I do think that is something that people see more and more and more. But I think that that's one of those things that as you get to know her and you're in her circle, you get to see that on display.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. All right. Now, Shannon, what's something fun or interesting about Yadira that people don't know?
What is something fun people don't know about you? Oh, this is funny. One thing that I think is that people probably don't know is your Jack in the Box habit.
Oh.
Yadira is very bougie. Likes fancy things, but she also loves Jack in the Box clown tacos. So
wow.
Fun that people do not know about her.
Yeah, I love it. And which TV show do you all wish still aired?
For me, Living Single.
I was just watching that this weekend. That's a good one.
That was instrumental for me.
Yeah.
I really used to be obsessed with New York Undercover.
Ooh,
and I don't know why. Like, I just knew I was going to open a Natalie's. Like, I still might. I just knew I'm going to have a Natalie's. Like, have this like intense episode and then have the R&B star at the end. Like, that was my fave.
Yes. Okay. And then what's the most random social media account you follow?
Ooh. I mean,
dang, the most random social media account.
Mine is a guilty pleasure. I'm a massive Formula One fan. And so there's this whole world on TikTok that I fell into a couple of weeks ago. And it's like F1 POVs and like fan fiction through the eyes of TikTok. And I don't know who's writing these things, but I have been, I moved from like guilty pleasure and like, I'm not going to follow. And so now I've been following a couple of them and now I feel so ashamed.
They got you.
They got me.
TikTok fan fiction. Yeah, she does. Dang, the most random thing. I feel like I'm just so obsessed with like manifest talk.
Yes.
You know, one random thing that's annoying to my husband is like, I'm obsessed with, Apple leakers on YouTube. And I will watch so many videos of just like Apple leaks of just like, these are the new features of the iPhone 20.
And I just learned something new about you. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. The Apple Circle, all of them. Yeah. Like, I don't know why. I just got hooked on them because I don't always update my phone every year, but I love Apple leakers on YouTube. That's my jam.
That's interesting.
The deal guy on YouTube also. And the deal guy, it was so random. My husband talked about it one time because it was like 10 tips for like saving money on fast food. I'm like, why are you showing me this? Like, one, we don't even eat fast food like that. And I'm like, I don't care about saving 13 cents on a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Like, what is this? But the deal guy on YouTube, he starts his thing like, these are the top 10 things. That is definitely the most random thing I follow. The deal guy.
That is. I'm gonna check that. I gotta put that one in the show notes too. Okay.
Y'all heard those impressions? You heard that impression?
We got some of that on Black to Business. Love it. And then finally, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
It means to be a powerful representative of what's possible. I would say that is to me, and I'll say to both of us because we talk about this a lot. Right. Of like sometimes we were just going through our day and you're not thinking about like the impact that you know we might be having, Verb might be having on one, the world of marketing, or two, other folks who are seeing us, and or it's an encouragement or it's inspiring. And we get a lot of really great notes and calls from people that we know and people that we don't know who say that to us. And I think it's really, even when we're interviewing folks, people are just like, we looked you up. This is really dope because we don't necessarily see this. And because we are, the powerful part comes from the fact that we took back our own power. We got into this to be free, to be able to do the things that we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And that even means saying the things that we want to say. You know, we're not handcuffed by a lot of things because we're working for ourselves essentially. So for us, it's like really being powerful, being a representative of what is possible, because you know, we know that this is not necessarily everybody's entrepreneurial journey. You know, some people, we all have our own, you know, tough breaks and things of that sort and the ups and downs. But if we can just continue to be a representative of, again, what's possible, what can be, and then what's next, you know, we're doing our job.
Yes, absolutely. I would just add demonstrating the power of authenticity. Like, we really show up as our authentic selves and encourage our team to do the same. And, you know, we might show up to the meeting in our leather jackets and kicks. And it's like, you know, we model what we want our team to feel the freedom to do as well. And so I think that just being really authentic is what it means for us being Black in business as well. And being able to build an 8-figure company being yourself, you know, I think that's priceless.
Yes, I love it. And also, people who are listening, this has been amazing. And I just want to thank you all for being, like you said, an example, and also of you can do business with your friends. So people who are listening, they're like, okay, I love the conversation. How can I find them? How can I connect with them? And how can I support them? So please do share.
I consider myself a faux content creator because I'm definitely not one. But across IG, TikTok, and Twitter, I am at Because Yadi. I like to post foolishness. I talk to folks in the DMs and chats and things of that sort. But I'm usually there, you know, giving you some dance moves, giving you some crazy point of view, giving you my reactions to F1. But that's where people can find me.
Okay.
I am Shan Simp on Instagram. I do not post a lot, but I keep saying one of these days, but I'm Shan Simp on Instagram. And like I said, LinkedIn, Shannon Simpson Jones. If you look me up, like, you know, definitely feel free to shoot me a note there too.
Got it. And we'll put those in the show notes. Well, thank you both again. This has been amazing. Such a fun conversation and authentic. So thank you all for sharing with my audience on how to do business with friends the right way. And thank you for the work that you are doing and being on the Black to Business podcast.
Thank you so much for having us. Such a dope conversation.
And that's a wrap for another episode of the Black to Business podcast. Such an amazing conversation, so insightful and so transparent. Shout out to Yadira and Shannon for sharing their remarkable journey with us today. And as we reflect on the power of friendship first mentality in business, here are some of the key takeaways. Building a strong bond with your business partner can be the secret ingredient to entrepreneur success. Don't be afraid to challenge the common wisdom that you can't do business with friends. Shannon and Yadira are living proof that it's not only possible, but highly beneficial. And learning from their journey of transitioning from colleagues to friends to co-founders and how they've maintained a successful business while prioritizing their friendship. And if you're eager to learn more about our incredible guests, connect with them, or explore the valuable resources mentioned during the episode, head over to our website at blacktobusiness.com/172. I've already checked out the YouTube channel that they mentioned, but you got to check out the show notes to see which YouTube channel I'm talking about. Again, thank you so much for being a part of the Black to Business community and listening to this episode. Hopefully you gain something out of it. We love you and we thank you for being here, and I will chat with you next week, same time, same place.